So I want to do a recording. I want to do a Q&A session. And you just ask me questions about whatever, like, about what is the law regarding guide dogs or something like that. You just ask me about public interference, which get tons of that. And you can ask me about corrections, the methods, the techniques, what they train the dogs to do, stuff that people would not know, and petting. So you make up questions, and I answer them, and then we'll see.
Okay.
So, question uno.
You ready?
Yep. What is question uno?
What kind of traits do you want to see in a new guide dog?
Traits?
Mm-hmm.
I want a dog that is going to love their work. I want a dog, no matter what breed it is. I really want a shepherd, but if I don't get a shepherd and I get either a lab, a golden, or a cross, which is the other 3 breeds that Seeing Eye does, I want a dog that is going to work for me, that's going to love their job, be focused, have an average pace and an average pull strength. I'm kind of mixed on whether I want a big dog or a little dog, because there's kind of ifs and ands to each one. There's kind of pros and cons to each one. If the dog is too big, or not too big, but if the dog is large, let's say 24 to 26 inches at the shoulder blade, from their feet to the shoulder blade, then it makes it really kind of hard to get the dog into certain places.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say a plane, when I come home.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have to stuff the dog in the plane. In front of me, there's a seat back, the hollow space where your feet go. Now, I know that there's a bulkhead seat, and that's not required, but if possible, it's kind of debated whether you want that bulkhead seat or not. There's plenty of room up there. Actually, there's more room in that bulkhead seat, but you're not required to sit in it. Mm-hmm. And some flight attendants will try to make you sit in it, which, by the way, is against the law, because you're not required by ADA standards to sit in that seat. You don't have to sit in that seat. But if the dog is too small, then, that's a preference thing. There's really not anything wrong with a small dog at all. Got my face itching. There's not really a wrong related to that. It's just a preference. But if the dog is small, you could have issues with the dog getting into a high vehicle, like our truck. Not all small dogs would have that problem. Let's see, there's labs that are like 40 pounds, 45 pounds, that are really small. I've heard of an 18-inch high yellow lab, that was like 42 or 43 pounds, little bitty dog. And that would be awesome for fitting into spaces, but that'd be kind of hard to see. She'd have to really jump high to get in that truck, and that might be a little hard on her joints after a while. So that's something to think about. But yeah, that's about it on that one.
Mm-hmm. How do you would want the public to react to your dog?
Well, definitely don't talk to the dog or look the dog in the eyes. If you look the dog in the eyes, they're going to look at you instead of the path in front of me. If you talk to the dog, they're going to respond to that cute voice thing that people do to dogs, that they, that little puppy dog voice that the people use, they will respond to that, and they'll start heading your direction, which could result in me hitting something, like say in a grocery store. I could bump the shelf and knock everything off the shelf because that dog is not looking at the shelf. The dog's looking at you because you have distracted the dog. Let's see. It is a really good idea if you ask a guide dog team if they need help, rather than just grabbing somebody's harness or the hand or arm of somebody that is blind with a dog, or anybody that's blind, period, cane or dog. But in this instance, you don't want to just walk up and grab somebody's harness handle. That's a humongous no-no, because that's like grabbing somebody's steering wheel if you don't think they're going the right way, and you have two options, a right or a left, and they're turning left, and you think, well, the right way is shorter, why don't you go that way? So you grab their steering wheel and you yank it to the right. That's exactly what grabbing that harness handle is. So you would get really, really upset if somebody grabbed your steering wheel in your passenger seat. You would really not like that. And we as guide dog handlers really get upset like really fast when it comes to that. Now, if you reach down and pet the dog, we'll ask you politely to please don't do that. But if somebody walks up and grabs, I can't speak for everybody, but some of us will react very differently, and not usually in the best of ways. And that's on us to try to be as cordial and as understanding and as educational as we can be. But usually, we don't want anybody to interfere with any guide dog handler team work, because it can be very, very dangerous. Don't honk your horn at a dog in a handler team when you are in the street and you think that they are doing something wrong, or you just want to say hi and honk the horn at them. Not a good idea, because that dog is going to instinctively look around to see where that noise came from, and it could startle the dog. And you don't want to do that when your friend or loved one is in the middle of the street, because they could get killed, and we don't want that. So I would say, summarizing it, would be, please don't pet, talk to, or otherwise interfere with a dog. If you ask for the dog's name and somebody doesn't want to give that out, respect that. And please, by all means, ask if we need assistance. And please, 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 whatever you do, please don't grab on to people's clothes and start, pulling them around or pushing them back on the sidewalk, or adjusting them by the shoulders, or grabbing the harness handle, or anything physical like that, because that's an invasion of somebody's privacy, and you could actually get arrested for assault if somebody feels threatened by you. So I wouldn't recommend that either. That's pretty much it. Just please don't interfere with the dog.
Did you want to also touch on personal pets?
Yeah, that's a huge one. Speaking of dog distractions, please keep your dog on leash. If you're out and about, that's fine. You can have your dog out and about. That's your right and that's your choice. That's your decision to do. But please respect the leash laws. And even if there's not a leash law in your area, it would be really awesome if people would respect the public at large, even other people besides guide dog handlers. But in this instance, it's a huge distraction when you have either leashed dogs that have long leashes, or unleashed dogs that are off leash and not under the control of their handler. It's really distracting when they run up and start trying to either be friendly and play with the dog guide, or God forbid start attacking the guide dog and then possibly causing the dog to have to retire. at the very least disorienting the person, distracting the dog, thus putting the person in danger, and at the very most, the most extreme end of that spectrum would be a dog attack, which is happening more and more and more frequently as the years progress, and more people are not respecting the leash laws, and they are not respecting guide dog handler teams at all. So please keep your dogs on leash, even if there's not a leash law in your area, because there could be a guide dog team headed your way, and you want to be prepared to help that individual by not allowing your dog to interact with the dog guide.
One more question.
Sorry.
You recently retired Sadie. How are you feeling?
That sucks. Yeah, so little background. In 2015, I went to Pilot Dogs in Columbus, Ohio for my third guide dog, and I went for I went for a poodle. I need to scoot my chair, rocking away. I went for a poodle because I was in the company of somebody who had dog allergies, so I had to have a poodle or no guide dog. So I chose a poodle, and they had a female black standard poodle named Sadie. So I went up there and trained with her for 2 weeks because I'm a retrain. So we worked together from April of 2015 until just yesterday, October the 20th, 2018. So about 3.5 years, and it was touch and go. It was kind of up and down. Her work was so-so. She was a reissue, which means that she had a previous blind handler, and that relationship match did not work. According to the school, he was injured at work, and so she was returned to the school and reissued to me. So I was her second person. So she had a few issues, and she's a great dog and everything, but she just was not cut out for guide work, and it's really hard to retire a guide dog after you've been with them, even for a short period of time. It's hard. This morning I woke up and the first thing I thought about was putting food in her bowl. Last night before I went to bed and took my shoes off, I thought, do I need to take Sadie out again before I go to bed? And earlier when we were taking a Walmart trip and going out to eat before I leave tomorrow, I thought, I almost grabbed that harness because I still have that harness that she wore. And so I almost grabbed it, and yeah, it's kind of it's a very emotional thing sometimes, because you know that dog, and you have developed this relationship. Even if the guide dog's work is not up to par the way you want it to be, you and the guide dog have this special relationship that nobody but a guide dog handler will understand. Not even the family of a guide dog handler will see the inside of that relationship, but they won't completely understand, but they'll understand more than most people that, that dog has taken you around God knows how many obstacles, and if you've crossed streets and everything, that guide dog has watched out for you and probably saved your life and you didn't even know. So, yeah, that relationship is very, very special, and it is actually, to a lot of us guide dog handlers, I don't know about everyone, but to a lot of us it is even more of a bond than a pet, because you actually get to take that dog everywhere with you. And so you're used to having this dog by your side all the time, and then all of a sudden when you retire the dog doesn't go anywhere with you anymore. So it's completely different. It's an experience that, if you're going to be a guide dog handler for your entire adult life, you're just going to have to endure it every time it's time for that. If you can't handle it, then some people only get one dog, and then they can't deal with that, and they stop, because it's very intense. So I would say I'm feeling good, because she's with a good friend of ours who used to be one of my coworkers, and so I feel good about that. We took her about halfway to where he lives, and when she saw him, she just went crazy, because they really bonded whenever he was here. So it was a very, very good thing that they had a relationship. Now, it's usually not a good idea for anybody to have a relationship with your dog, but but in this case, what I tend to do is allow at least one other person to bond with the dog a little bit. Not all the way, but just enough to where if I need somebody to watch the dog, or, you know, if the dog is going to be retired, then I know that I'm not handing the dog over to somebody who just doesn't know them, and they don't know the dog, and the dog's going to be all stressed out and everything. But this time, Sadie knows him, and he is taking very good care of her. He's already got her a bed and all kinds of toys, and got a daughter who just adores her, and that's her puppy, and so she's going to be a spoiled rotten doggy. So I'm very comfortable knowing that, and he said that I could come visit anytime. So I'm very, very excited, and that helps me to move forward to the next step. So I appreciate everybody watching, and I'm hoping that so I'm sort of hoping that these next 11 hours pass and we start on the road to Dallas. But then again, these are the last 11 hours with my husband for about 2.5 weeks, so I kind of want them to be slow too. So it's kind of a mixed emotion. You know, you got your family, you're excited to be going, but but then you're sad because you're leaving your family or your spouse, and or if you have kids or whatever. It's kind of a hard thing. So there's a lot of emotion that goes into this thing. It's not just getting a dog and training. There's a whole lot going on. But I appreciate you watching, and there will be more to come.